Let's talk all about how I transitioned from girl boss to homemaker. Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about how I've changed, how I went from the girl boss mentality to really embracing being a stay-at-home mom and being a homemaker. That has become my ultimate role, my ultimate job, and something I absolutely love. But before we get into the transition, I feel like I want to talk a little bit about the homemaking experiment, okay? So this is the newer direction I want to go with my channel. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I started back in the early days of my marriage. And so I was talking about a lot of different topics. I was talking about dating. I was talking about being a wife. I was talking about culture and commentary and all of the things that I am really passionate about. But as I have had children, as I have a son and I'm pregnant with my second son, my priorities have changed. And so the things that I think about and talk about and care about have more to do with being a mom and being a homemaker. That's not to say that I don't love talking about dating and I don't love talking about the culture, but it means that my primary focus has shifted. And one of the things I really want to talk about with you guys, because I've been going through a transition myself, right? That's going to be the whole point of this video, is how I'm learning to become a homemaker. We have all been raised in the shadow of feminism. I've said that before. And so what that means is that I don't think many women understand how to be homemakers in today's day and age, including myself. I really didn't know. I knew how to cook, but really kind of nominally. I knew how to clean, but not very well. I didn't know how to make a house feel homey. I didn't know how to decorate. I didn't know how to embrace all of the things that make being a homemaker unique, because you are literally, legitimately making a home for your family, for your husband and for your children and for yourself. And so I have had to learn how to do all these things, and I'm still learning. Every single day I'm learning how to embrace homemaking as a vocation and as something I absolutely love doing, but it's a project. I mean, I'm constantly learning, and I want to share my experience with you. I want to share how I'm learning to overcome all of the stereotypes I have in my head about stay-at-home moms, all of the kind of the fears of not fulfilling my potential in this girl boss world, and how I have come to peace and am coming to peace with this amazing role that I have and I love. Now, I know some of you were raised in homes with homemakers, and so you guys probably have this in your blood, but if you are like me and you didn't have that experience, and that's not to say, again, that my relationship with my mom isn't amazing, I love her, she was always putting us first, but homemaking wasn't on her list of priorities, then come along with me and let's explore this together. I'm really looking forward to sharing my homemaking journey with you and hopefully learning from you guys along the way. So now let's get into the crux of what I want to talk about, which is how I transitioned from being a girl boss to being a homemaker. So I started off as an opera singer. I was very ambitious. I really wanted to get to the top of my career. I wanted to be successful. I wanted people to know my name. It was really important to me that I fulfill my potential. So I was working super hard and I put in all of the hours that I could, and I cared about succeeding in that field. But there were two things that kind of happened during this girl boss era of mine. One was that the people that I had surrounded myself with and the business I was in, I had allowed to change me, because I just wanted to be so successful in my field that all of my values became secondary to my ambition. And that was horrible for me because I had lost sight of what was really important. And I could tell that from my emotions. I didn't feel very good. I felt kind of down. I dealt with a lot of anxiety and I was very lonely. I had friends, of course, but I wasn't married. I wasn't living close to my immediate family. And so I felt very alone, even while I was pursuing something that I cared about. And then there was the other part of this, which was that I put my self-worth in my career success. And I'm sure some of you have experienced that feeling of like, if I don't succeed, I am not worth anything. And you build up in your head that your only sign of worthiness is having been successful in your job. And that was really upsetting because that meant that every time I didn't get an audition or I didn't get a part, I felt awful about myself. Rather than recognizing that your career is just a part of your life, it became my whole life. And I think that that's a very dangerous element of girl boss mentality, is like your career success is inextricably linked with who you are. And so if things start going badly in that area of your life, that's the only area of your life that you focused on. And so it becomes everything. But I had given myself into this girl boss mentality, especially as my dating life had been less successful. I started to say, okay, well, if I can't, meet the right guy and I can't get married, I might as well just throw myself into my work rather than throwing myself into my faith or throwing myself into my community or throwing myself into part of my work, but not making that everything to the, destruction of everything else. I became single-minded about opera. And it wasn't until I met my husband, I met Jacob, that I started to think a little differently. If you are curious about the whole story of how we met and got together and got married, I have a whole video on that on my channel that I recorded with my husband, Jacob, so you can go ahead and watch that. But meeting Jacob really changed everything because he was super confident about our relationship and about us being together. And that made me confident, and it made me excited to leap into the future with this man that I had fallen in love with. What became very clear to me was when I went away right after we had met, we knew very quickly that we were probably gonna end up together. I traveled for 10 weeks right after we had gotten together. And that was the pinnacle of my career. And I should have been on top of the world. From a girl boss perspective, I was like at the height of my success. And yet I missed him terribly and I was very unhappy because I knew that I would be lonely. I would have to continue doing this for the rest of my life if this was gonna be my main priority and my identity. I quickly realized that this girl boss thing wasn't going to make sense because it prioritized career and kind of an outward show of success over my emotional stability and health. And so it became obvious that I wanted to take a break from opera. And when I got married, it wasn't my intention to completely quit forever, but I did have this feeling of like, I know I want to be with my kids. I want to be available for my husband. And if I'm traveling constantly, I won't be able to do those things. So let's put opera on hold for a bit, especially because I was living out in Charlottesville, which is in Virginia, and there is an opera house there, but it only performs in the summer. So it wasn't like I was in a place where I could take a ton of auditions and do a lot of stuff, especially because I wasn't interested in doing a lot of travel away from my new spouse. But I sort of channeled my ambition into Classically Abby. And I launched Classically Abby, I would say about 8 months into being married. And I knew I wanted to put a lot of time and energy into that because, again, I'm a very creative person. And so I wanted to put my energy into something that I cared about. So I started Classically Abby. I started making videos about makeup and dating and being a wife and all of the things that I found interesting. And then eventually I started talking about conservatism and being a conservative woman. But I had the time at this point in my life, because I didn't have children yet, to really focus on that. I could dedicate time that I don't have now to building my brand. And it was something that I could do from home and I could do remotely, and I could still do it on my own schedule. So I could, spend time with my husband, I could take care of the house, but really I didn't view myself as a stay-at-home wife or as a homemaker yet. At this point, I was still sort of halfway between girl boss and homemaker because I wanted to be successful in my career, but I always prioritized what mattered, which was my family and my future children, which is a little more similar actually to my mom's perspective. She worked and she really enjoys working, but she always prioritized her family and her children. I started to move towards a more homemaking mentality when I conceived my first son. And honestly, one of the biggest lessons I learned was in being morning sick for the first trimester, just how much pressure women are under to perform when it is absolutely unnatural for us to perform in that first trimester when we're feeling so sick and we're feeling so awful. That's not to say that you're not needed, right? Because I'm now pregnant again, and I had to be available for my toddler while pregnant with my second child. But that is in many ways different than having to be in an office and having to function when you are throwing up, when you are sick, when you are debilitated. And I was just so grateful for the opportunity to be working from home, to be able to be on my own schedule, and for me to start recognizing what my real duties were. Not the work, not even classically Abby, but being able to function well enough to grow that baby healthily. And this came even more to a head when I had my son. I had Mr. Baby. We call him Mr. Baby here on my channel. I had Mr. Baby, and he had horrible acid reflux, really, really bad. He was born at the 69th percentile of weight. He dropped to like the 12th percentile and then the 8th percentile just because he was spitting up so much, and he was in pain, and it was awful. I was only able to be as involved as I needed to be because I was a homemaker. I was able to baby wear him every single day. I was able to breastfeed him on demand. I was able to put him to sleep. And for those first few months, I was so involved, and it became so obvious to me how needed I was by my son. And the truth is that as he's grown, yes, he doesn't need me in that intensive a way, but it became even more clear over time how wonderful it is that I get to be so present for him, that I don't have to worry so much about how he goes down for a nap because I can pretty much be there for all of his naps. That I didn't have to worry about pumping because I could just breastfeed whenever I wanted. That I could be involved in his development as a little person and his growth. And being a stay-at-home mom was so clearly the most fulfilling thing I could do, fulfilling my potential and his, that I knew that all of my other priorities didn't matter. Having my channel and having my platform is an amazing opportunity, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna make more of a difference at home, raising a genuine human to be a great member of society than I am going to be doing whatever I'm doing here. And I love what I do here, and I think that I do things that are really important. But if it ever came at the cost of my son, it would never be worth it. And as I started raising my son and loving my job as a mother, it also started to move in the direction of homemaking. I realized how much I loved the idea of creating a home for my whole family, of learning to cook and learning to cook well, not just fast. Not to say that I don't love a fast meal every now and then, but actually learning how to cook and making good food. I wanted to learn how to decorate the home and make it homey and inviting. How I wanted to learn how to clean and clean well. Still working on that, but that is a very important aspect of this. How I wanted to be organized, how I want to be scheduled, but also be flexible enough that I can have fun with my family. And so it became my goal, and it has been my goal, to treat homemaking like any other job you would get a degree in. I wish that we did offer degrees in homemaking, in the sense that I wish that we gave women the tools to be confident in their homemaking abilities. How to run a household, how to do taxes, or even just understand budgeting and bills, how to clean and feel tidy at the end of the day, how to cook well and love and enjoy cooking, how to deal with time management. All of this is a craft. Homemaking is a craft. And as I realized that, the girl boss thing became so uninteresting to me, because at the end of the day, anyone can fire you and you can be replaced, but you will never be able to be replaced as a wife and as a mom. You just won't. This is where you are actually the boss. You get to run your home, you get to create your home, and you get to manage it. And that has been such an inspiration to me, especially as I've seen my son grow into such a wonderful little person, and I'm so excited to see how he continues to grow. But that's kind of how I went from being a girl boss to a homemaker, and finding absolute fulfillment in that. And I'm looking forward to talking about and sharing more with you all my journey to becoming the homemaker I really want to be. So if you have gone through a similar transition, I would love to know. Please leave it in the comments below. And I would love to hear if you have any tips, books, whatever it is, for how to become a better homemaker. Let's get a conversation started. Let's make this channel a really great place for us to learn how to be homemakers together. And I hope you'll subscribe and join our classic crew over here so that you can be a part of this journey with us. I would also love if you would consider subscribing to my Substack. If you are looking for a community of wonderful women and to join a book club, please feel free to head over to classicallyabby.substack.com. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!